Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our Lucha Underground review. And this was the premiere of Season 3, and what a premiere it was. Threw a lot at us straight away. I thought it was the perfect blend of great wrestling and great stories being furthered. I give this premiere a thumbs up with only bigger things to come. Partner, what do you think of it?
Yeah, big thumbs up from me. I will say, though, this really didn't feel like a season premiere to me. This felt more like just a continuation of what we were getting in Season 2, just like the finale of Season 2 felt more like it was meant to set up Season 3. Really, the transition from Season 2 to 3 has been extremely smooth.
I agree with you, man. Like you said, and you said this at one point in live reactions, and you've said it in other commentaries, this really felt like, Season 2 felt more like Season 1.5, like it was a midpoint, and now they've just built naturally upon that with the Season 3 premiere. And yeah, I don't think this premiere had the same pop as the Season 2 premiere did, because especially at the end, they threw everything at that. But I don't think it's so much about that. I think the one word that's really going to define this season, which is crazy to say because you've really seen the brilliance of it in all 3 seasons, but I think the word that's really going to define this season is narrative. I think there's going to be a lot of story building, a lot of storytelling, and I think the culmination, how this season punctuates, is going to blow all of us away. I can't wait. So yeah, nice start here.
I definitely agree with you, and I'll also say, I don't know how many of our viewers are, consistent, regular followers of the Squared Circle subreddit, but you could probably just say Tuesday, because technically it was still Monday night for me because I hadn't slept yet. But Tuesday morning, around 10 o'clock in the morning, I posted nearly 40,000 character summary of the first 2 seasons of Lucha Underground on the Squared Circle subreddit. And it was very well received, but I think that a lot of people need to see that if they haven't watched the first 2 seasons.
Yeah,
I ran it through a freaking word counter, and it was something like 7,000 and some odd words. But the more important thing was, it was about a 36-minute read. Now you can go full bore, and I would recommend watching every episode. But if you want to try and binge, it's 67 hours. So 67 hours or 36 minutes. Now, granted, you're not getting every single detail, and you're not getting, a few things that I may have missed. Like, I think I forgot to mention in my post, and really I can't even change it now because there's a 40,000 character limit on Reddit. I'm right up against that cap. But I did forget to mention the Cero Miedo match, which is a huge detail, but it's in the comments. So if you just read the initial post and then the rest of the thread, it's not too much. But regardless, if you did not watch the first 2 seasons, or even if you didn't watch all of the first 2 seasons, like every episode, John and I have watched every single episode of Lucha Underground a minimum of 20.
Yeah,
every episode live. Plus, we did Lucha Rewatch for Season 1, and for Season 2, at the end of every episode, we would do our NXT stuff, and then we would go back and rewatch that night's episode. We're probably going to do that tonight as well. But we've seen every episode, and I definitely like to think I know what I'm talking about, John. I don't know if you've read the summary yet, but I definitely think that people who haven't seen every episode of the first 2 seasons owe it to themselves this summary.
Absolutely. I think it'll be a great aid to them. Go on the Reddit link, read it for yourself. I think for anybody that's looking to play catch up in the least amount of time, that is a perfect resource. And on your downtime, yes, go back and watch the episodes in full. It's an incredible journey. That's what I always tell my friends to do. It's like you've got to appreciate the journey Lucha Underground takes you on. And I really feel like Season 3, it really was an episode for the product since the beginning. You know, I don't think it tried to do any kind of like reinitiation. Like, it does recaps, of course, but like it has a grander story to tell, and those that have been a part of that story from the beginning are really getting the payoffs here. And that's why I really liked your summary, because I think people can read it, they can consume it, and then they can be a part of the story, because yeah, it just seems like it's going to be huge. I can't wait.
Yeah, I even saw on the Lucha Underground live thread, I really love this. Someone said on the Lucha Underground live thread, hey, is anyone else here because they never watched an episode of Lucha Underground before, but then they read that introduction that was posted, and now they're, you know, getting into it, and it's just warm and fuzzies. It's awesome.
Absolutely, man, as you should. I know you put a lot of time and effort into that, as it seems like a lot of time and effort went into this premiere, laying the groundwork for the greater story at hand. But with that said, let's get right into our first segment, Heat of the Night. And I mean, the trend continues.
We don't do Heat of the Night for Lucha Underground. Are you crazy?
Exactly. And, you know, certainly not tonight. So you're good, I'm good. So let us get right into our Lucha Underground review. And I'll tell you, we open up pretty much right where we left off. We knew at the end of last season was going to jail. Well, we visit the prison here. And Ashton, what did you think of the cinematic?
I'm more confused than anything. Like, I appreciate that they're doing like the long form storytelling, but we still don't know who the Lord is. We don't know, you know, how well connected. I mean, obviously he's really well connected, but we don't know who exactly his connections are. And Cueto, but there's still a lot that I feel like we don't necessarily know about this.
Oh yeah, definitely a lot of question marks. It was interesting seeing him get processed out. And, you know, very interesting to see the Honky Tonk Man cameo for those that didn't catch it. I'm sure a lot of people hopefully enjoyed that. And, yeah, man, it was crazy. I really enjoyed this opening cinematic, really set the tone. Dario walks out of prison, and a limo's there to pick him up. And who is it but, you know, the Lord, who we still don't know what he looks like or really anything about him. But they were really pissed that Dario got mixed up in all this. Dario assures them that the temple is back up and running, which seems to be in their best interest. And the Lord ends up saying, you know, you screw up again or this shit happens again, the only sentence you're going to be getting is a death sentence. So big stakes there for Cueto to kind of walk that line and not get in any more trouble with the feds.
Yeah, you gotta wonder why. Like, why is the Lord angry that Cueto got caught? What connection does the Lord have to Cueto?
Well, I mean, first of all, what connection does the Lord have to Cueto, and why do they care so much if the temple's operational or not? Like, is it serving as a front for something else?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, though. Like, what investment does the Lord have? Like, is Cueto like an employee of the Lord, and he's doing all of this stuff with the temple because the Lord told him to?
I mean, maybe. I don't know, dude. Like, I'm really seeing them give Cueto that stern talking to, and especially the Lord again saying, you know, you screw up again, it's going to be a death sentence, really makes me intrigued about the whole relationship, because what really is at stake here? What is it about the temple, about Cueto, about all this that matters so much to this particular group of people, this very influential and powerful group of people? And if you don't even want to say people, this one man being the Lord. So that's something that's definitely got to be explored this season.
Yeah. Oh, man. So the sequence was just kind of establishing, okay, even though you saw Cueto get arrested, it didn't take long at all for him to get out, and it was because of the Lord and his connections. So really, even though Cueto got caught, he's basically above the law.
Exactly.
And let's not forget to mention that the guy who Cueto got his stuff back from when he left prison was played by the Honky Tonk Man.
Yes. Yes. Which I found very interesting. You know, it's funny because I mentioned on live reactions that Chris Roach on his Facebook said, longtime wrestling fans will appreciate the little treasure we put in tonight's episode. And that was clearly it. Thought it was really cool of him to make that cameo. And yeah, it was nice. And see, this is how you can use more established wrestling talent, but in a way that I don't think really goes against your universe. Like he was a prison guard for like 2 seconds. I feel like it was harmless. It was fun. A great little addition there to the season opener. I really enjoyed the cinematic. I thought it set a great tone saying, hey, we're back in full force. And I love it.
I mean, he wasn't even really a prison guard. He was just like a desk clerk. Like he was just there to give people their stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He only deals with the ones that have been deemed not dangerous enough to release from prison. Like there's nothing intimidating about his job at all.
Certainly not. No, he's got it freaking easy. He's just hands them their possessions, like off you go. So yeah, it was great stuff, dude.
Yep. Yeah, and we got a glimpse of the Lord's right hand, and we saw that it was he's either an android with a metallic right hand, or he was wearing some kind of metallic gauntlet. One of the two.
Yeah, I'm leaning more towards Gauntlet, but yeah, he's got to be something fierce because you do get a glimpse of that right hand, and you're just thinking, oh shit, I'm glad I'm not Cueto right now. Like Cueto's in deep shit, guys.
Lucha Thanos.
Exactly. Yeah, guys. I mean, they're really turning up the heat on Cueto here. I'm curious how he'll respond. And is there anything else you want to say about this opening cinematic?
No, up next, though, we're in the temple, and Vampiro tells us that he is no longer anyone's master, which is awesome and very interesting take. I will say the psych ward scene in the first season, or the first episode of season 2, to this day is one of my favorite cinematics in Lucha Underground history. That was amazing.
It was brilliantly shot, brilliantly executed. That's definitely in the top 5, if not the best cinematic they've ever produced. So great stuff there.
Yeah, like that, and then like the scene where Cage beats the shit out of the Mac in the locker room, and then the locker room scene with Black Lotus fighting off the crew, and then Killshot and Marty's first interaction backstage. Those are 4 of my top 5 for sure.
Definitely. I completely agree with you there. Yeah, this is great stuff.
Okay, so then Dario Cueto comes out and announces that the main event tonight is going to be Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Pentagon Dark. And he has a new innovation that he came up with, most likely in prison. Dario's Dial of Doom, which is basically, the Wheel of Fortune of death.
I love it, though. I love this concept for one reason, and Dario even fleshes out. It's not that every member of the Lucha Underground roster is on that wheel. Only people that are A, credible enough to face Matanza, and B, who have never faced Matanza, which is an ingenious way to exclude Rey Mysterio and Pentagon Dark from the process.
Yep.
I love it. And
it also excludes guys like Cage and Mill, who Cueto really doesn't want taking on his little brother anymore.
Exactly, and it provides for so many fresh matchups. It's another reason why I love it. You're guaranteed not to get a. They want to keep this title reign fresh, and not only that, the more different opponents that Matanza beats, the more credible Matanza the entity looks. Until whoever steps up to knock him down, they're going to be fucking huge. Whether it's Sexy Star or somebody else, like it works on every conceivable level, which should just pretty much Lucha Underground synopsis for its existence. Like we work on every conceivable level. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And
Lucha Underground's tagline should be, all those complaints you have about WWE, we fix those.
Exactly. And you know what? The structure of the card, why I was okay with it here, and we'll get into specifics of why I'd have to qualify that I'm okay with it in a second. You have Rey Mysterio and Pentagon Dark main eventing. To me, that makes sense. Rey Mysterio won the main event of Ultima Luchados, at least, the in-ring main event, I mean. And Pentagon Dark, his last match before the end of Season 2 was for the Lucha Underground World Championship. So really 2 top-tier guys right now. Of course they're going to main event. And then there is, the guy, the world champion in Matanza. He's getting ready for a world title defense. And we spin the Dial of Doom. And whose name does it land on, partner?
Son of Havoc.
Son of freaking Havoc. Yeah, and again, it freaking works. The way his season ended, he got screwed out of an Ultima Lucha Tres World Championship match. So right off the bat, he rebounds as a complete
The
180.
thing is, Cueto is being perfectly fair too, because the guy that screwed Son of Havoc out of that main event match, Dr. Wagner, was also on the Dial of Doom.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's such a hilarious name. And the crazy thing is, the name of this episode was actually Wheel of Misfortune, so that it fits on every level.
Again, just the synopsis for Lucha Underground's existence. And Son of Havoc gets right back in it, albeit by random chance, which again, I think works, because if you want to keep this illusion that Dario Cueto doesn't want a guy like Son of Havoc in his main events, he doesn't want a guy like Son of Havoc on the marquees relating to his temple, which is why, you know, he had Dr. Wagner Jr. come out and compete. You know, since you didn't take the money, now you got to wager the contract. Wagner Jr. wins, he gets the money, and you lose the contract. You know, this was a random process. There was no agency by Cueto here. The only agency really exerted was spinning the wheel in the first place. So it's just enough to get Son of Havoc back in the bigger picture, and yet just random enough, you know, that it also works, that it doesn't really make Cueto seem like, oh, I regret what I did to Havoc, or I've softened up on Havoc. Again, it fucking works, and I love it. This segment was pure genius because it just showed you where they're going with everybody. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
And I mean, not only that, but it also really illustrates just how much of a freaking corny, like, dad joke guy Cueto is. Like, he thinks the Dario Cueto Dial of Doom is the most badass thing of all, but it is hilariously campy, and I love it.
I mean, it's campy, but I think it's more just, it's a Dial of Doom because sure, you get a world time, and then you just realize, oh yeah, we're fucked.
Yeah, and speaking of, the first match of the night was Son of Havoc versus Matanza. We start with that.
What do you think of this match, man?
This is solid, man. I thought Son of Havoc was very believable. When Matanza got his hands on him, he sold the shit out of it. When he did some moves to Matanza, he always had to, you know, really get a ton of momentum behind it, and that's just to stagger Matanza. This is a really good match, and at the end, Matanza just really, it really does just kind of feel like with Matanza do to him, all it takes is one, and nobody can kick out of it. No one, I don't think anyone ever has kicked out of it, have they?
No, and you know what? That's what I think makes this kind of booking work, because I've noticed a shift. Before it was just, you know, Matanza kind of ripping people apart and ending matches when he, you know, deemed fit. Now they're far more competitive between Ultima Lucha Dos and the Season 3 premiere, but they still work because, yeah, you can throw all these bombs at me. All I need is my one weapon to beat you, and that's it. Just one.
There's kind of a theory floating around that graver consequences did so much damage to Matanza that it kind of permanently weakened him.
Which they want to go with, that's fine. I mean, you look at all the forces were at play there. You know, Mil Muerte's kind of, you know, the man that's death, caskets, mortality, like all this imagery, all these forces. If they'd want to say that Matanza didn't walk out 100%, or he did lose a bit of his essence that makes him so powerful, and he's just a weakened Matanza, and yet still so dominant, I'm cool with that. If they don't even want to speak about it at all, and it's just, this is a thing now, at least they're still protecting Matanza enough that it's like, okay, you hit me with your best shot. It's just when I needed to get started, you know, almost like a warm-up. Now let me show you what I'm capable of. Boom, Wrath of the Gods, it's over. And I will say, too, another interesting thing about this trend, and it's been on my Pentagon Dark really dominate Matanza. Son of Havoc, well, I wouldn't call it dominance. He had his flurries, and he really had Matanza reeling. You know, is Sexy Star going to be able to put the pieces together? If she remains Gift of the Gods champion, we have a lot more to say about Sexy Star later in the show. We'll get to that. But yeah, I have to wonder if, like, this booking shift has happened because, you know, down the road, Sexy Star is going to be facing Matanza, and how is that going to shake out?
I mean, you would think that she would be very smart about when she cashes in the gift of the gods, just as far as like maybe, oh no, you know what though, it's not Money in the Bank, so you can't wait until your opponent's weakened or anything like that. So she is in a really tough spot. I mean, even if Matanza is weakened, we just saw what it did to Son of Havoc. We saw what it did last season to Cage and Pentagon. You know, that how sexy's going to do it, but that's a conversation for another day. Let's talk back about this show. As we said, Matanza did defeat Son of Havoc, and then we got a backstage vignette in Dario Cueto's office with Worldwide Underground.
Oh, yes, and Johnny Mundo getting straight to the point. I want my Lucha Underground Championship match. And I got to pump the brakes for just a second, because I know there was a lot more to this and a lot more important stuff, but I just wanted to make a casual observation. I love how fixated on the Lucha Underground Championship Johnny Mundo is. Like,
Yep.
Every heel should take a note like that, because that has been his central focus even when he was a babyface in season 1. Why? Because he came to the temple to be the best, to win the gold, to, win the treasures and everything, and show that I'm the best wrestler in the world. He has not deviated, even with everything else he's got going on, whether it be Cage, Worldwide Underground, Puma, whatever. He has not deviated from his central focus. Everything I do to get one step closer to that Lucha Underground Championship. And yet what's so freaking great about it is, to me anyway, it's not like a Triple H thing. Now, let me qualify what I'm saying here. Even when Triple H in like 2002, 2004 would do other storylines, you knew eventually he'd be in that world title picture. Lucha Underground, there ain't no rush to put Johnny back in that picture, and I'm okay with that, because I feel like his best work really has been working in the undercard and forming Worldwide Underground. Do I want him back in that picture? Absolutely. And I love, as a character, he wants back in that picture, and he'll do anything he can to get it. Cueto, on the other hand, though, says, not happening, Johnny, because you lost your match at Ultima Lucha Dos, and you don't deserve it. And plus, as far as the dial goes, just some bad fortune. That's all. Your name didn't land on it. So what can I tell you? And Johnny Mundo saying, I deserve it. Give me my shot again. He is obsessed with being Lucha Underground champion. I can only hope that'll mean a title win one day, but I digress. And again, Cueto says, look, you guys didn't do anything. And, again, reminds them of the Trios Championship loss. Then that's where it gets interesting, Ashton, because they mention Angelico. So why don't you tell everybody the poor fate that Angelico was met with?
I loved this vignette so much. I felt like Cueto was going to be like, hey, stop cutting away. But no, we got a legit scene with Angelico walking out of the temple, most likely at the end of season 2, and he just gets jumped by Worldwide Underground. They beat the shit out of him, and then they slam his leg in a car door.
Oh, dude. The last time I laughed at somebody's pain this much, and I mean, it was visceral, my laughing. I think was when the Revival shattered Big Cass's leg. And it's funny because yet another man's leg is getting shattered. So I don't know. Maybe that just tickles me the right way. But yeah, Angelico just got taken out. It was hilarious. It was amazing. It was deserved. He should have known his place. Quick side question for you. What do you think about, I don't want to necessarily call it a new style, but them doing cinematic segments, because we saw that in this segment, and then at the ending segment, which we'll get to, kind of like a thing within a thing. Do you think that works?
I barely heard some of what you said. I feel like you're cutting out a lot, but I'm assuming you asked what I think about the idea of having like cinematics inside cinematics, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I love it. I think it's amazing. I like, where has it been my whole life, and why has Lucha Underground not thought to do it before? It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it too, especially because here's the thing. I'm assuming we're going to get comics to fill in the gaps, but if we're not...
I really hope we do.
I really hope we do as well, but if we don't, I have to say, this is the best compensation I could think of. Just find ways to cut away and actually film stuff so we could see it, really brought to life. And
that's true, because this Angelico thing really does feel like something that might have actually been in one of the comics if they would be doing them. If assuming they're not doing them this season, if they would have been, this seems like something that would have fit in one.
And I have to make another observation about Worldwide Underground, because obviously I was waiting for these guys all night, and thankfully I didn't have to wait.
No fifth member.
No fifth member for one. Actually, I wasn't going to say that, so great catch by you. I would have even neglected to mention that, so good job there. But I love, and everybody's been saying it, and I've been jokingly saying, oh no, it's never going to happen, besties forever. But you can see that dichotomy rising just a little bit between Taya and Mundo, because here's Mundo, right? He's barking, oh, I want my Lucha Underground Championship match. Give it to me. Give me that match. And PJ Black and Jack Evans, they're cool with it. And admittedly, Taya doesn't really protest much either. But why? She doesn't need to, because she wanted Ultima Luchador. She has that confidence. And Cueto registers.
I loved that freaking moment where Cueto was just like, no, you don't deserve that either. But you know who did win their Ultima Luchador match? And then there's like this long pause, like they're looking at which one of us won? We're all on a team together. What are you talking about? Taya. And it's just like, yes! They're finally acknowledging her amazingness.
And, it's about damn time, because I can come up here and make jokes. And don't get me wrong, I am 150% Team Mundo for fucking life, and I'll never sway. But Taya is incredible. And if they're going to tell this story, this is the right way to tell it. Because, and it works on a heel level, too, because you mentioned a great point, Ashton. Everybody's looking at each other. And I hate to be that guy, but I think they kind of wanted me to be that guy with the way they shot this. It seemed like they were like, oh, the world title, or the Gift of the Gods championship too. Like, that's an all boys club. Clearly one of us would have to compete for, right? Like, nobody bothered to glance at Tati. And it had to be Cueto to bring it up. And she's just got this smile on her face like, yeah, I know I'm good. And she is. So if they're going to tell this story of Taya really being the breadwinner, the prize fighter, whatever you want to call it, just the MVP of Worldwide Underground, I love how they're doing it, because it's slow. There isn't even really any tension. You don't really, at least for me, I didn't see any animosity or anything exhibited by Mundo or Black or Evans towards Taya. But, they're just all like, fine, she gets her match. And yeah, I just loved how this whole thing was handled.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that was actually our next segment, wasn't it? Oh, no, next was Ivelisse in the ring.
Oh, man, this announcement.
He is pissed off that Catrina cost her match with Taya at Ultima Luchados. And not only that, but she also cost her match against the Disciples of Death at Ultima Lucha 1. So 2 years in a row now, Catrina has cost Ivelisse her Ultima Lucha match, and Ivelisse wants revenge. So she calls out Catrina. She wants a one-on-one match with her at Ultima Lucha 3. And Catrina shows up and agrees.
Yeah, we're doing it, man. We're doing it. We're in it. Dude, what's so great about this, and I didn't appreciate it as much as I'm about to now during live reactions, because obviously we're in the moment, we're fans, like we don't really consume everything that way. This is such great storytelling. 3 seasons in the making, and the one common thread, Ultima Lucha. I love it. I love that you killed one stone. Ivelisse saying, look, I haven't won a match at Ultima Lucha yet. It's because of this bitch, because she got involved not once, but twice. You've had tensions between them ever since, intermittently throughout those seasons, just to keep it fresh and just to say, hey, these two have beef with each other, and now it culminates. And what's even better, getting this established right out of the gate, of Ultima Lucha Traces is going to take part in. It's got 30-plus episodes to build towards. And we know they're not going to be on all 30-plus because there is that roster rotation. But I think it is going to be enough, combined with the Season 1 and Season 2 build, for us to be like, oh, yeah, I can't wait for this match. Because already I feel like this is one of the most hyped matches on the card. And it's the only match on the card. I'm just so proud of how this story was told and everything.
Yeah, I mean, so far it's the only match on the card. Obviously, we're going to find out a lot more as the season prevails. But, man, I love the idea of announcing an Ultima Lucha match this far ahead. We almost had it even earlier. We almost had Son of Havoc versus the world champion at Ultima Lucha 3 announced at this past Ultima Lucha, but obviously that didn't happen because Dr. Wagner Jr., et cetera, et cetera. So now it's official. Catrina versus Ivelisse is happening at Ultima Lucha 3. And, I mean, that's going to be insane. That show already looks great based on that one match alone, because that's basically a 2-year in the making kind of match, because that match has been getting built since towards the end of Season 1 even.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it's amazing the layers, meticulous they've been with it. You know, they've really taken their time. Both these cats, and that's another great thing too. Not only is this a rich story narratively, but the characters themselves in Ivelisse and Catrina, they're so rich as individuals. You know, Ivelisse going from like this angry, almost stereotyped in a way kind of girlfriend, because it's like, oh, you know, my God, you know, you're such a loser and I have to do everything myself and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, Catrina almost just being like this, like that. But then they gain nuance as everything progresses. And now their characters are at a point where this tension they have with each other and who they are as individuals and just everything, it works. So much so that, you know, it doesn't even need to be. And that's the thing. When you have stories that are this good, I'm not looking for 15 German suplexes or a wild variation of a fireman's carry. If the in-ring work is competent enough, which you know it will be from Ivelisse, and I'm curious to see where Catrina's at because I haven't seen her wrestle in forever. But if it's good enough, like, it works because the story to me has already sold this as a great match. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, same here. So then we did get to our second match of the night, which was Taya versus Sexy Star for the Gift of the Gods. And, you know, I mean, this match wasn't bad by any means, but I do feel like it was kind of rushed in the sense that Taya got some shit in, and then Sexy Star started to come back, and White Underground showed up, and everything just went to an end there.
Yeah, and I'd have to say, if like I had one nitpick of this match, and see again, like I hate to come down that hard, and maybe I was the only one thinking it. I wish Sexy Star would have won on her own, and maybe this was less about Sexy Star and more about Taya. Like,
How
his
did she
came
not
out.
win on her own?
Well, I mean, didn't the Worldwide Underground distraction? Well, I mean, that's true because she did kind of roll up. So really, I think it was less about that. I guess what I meant to say was I wish there really wasn't any interference.
She won despite interference that was working against her. Like Johnny Mundo, like while PJ Black and Jack Evans were distracting the ref, Mundo literally grabbed Sexy Star by the hair and was holding her back, hoping for Taya to hit her with double knees, but Sexy got out of the way. Taya hit Mundo in the face, and then Sexy Star got the roll up on Taya.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I guess what I meant to say was I wish there like wasn't any interference, but then again, you have to remember stories building here. One, Sexy Star is Gift of the Gods champion, and two, that slow split in my mind, which I don't even know if it'll come this season because we still haven't even seen the fifth member. We can't even talk about splitting up yet of Taya from Worldwide Underground because you have to imagine. I mean, this is just another offense going back a whole second season. And it's just like, you know, I'm really getting tired of you guys coming to my business when I can handle things on my own. So, I mean, yeah, that does not work out. Then they try and beat down Sexy champions and Phoenix, Struggle, and Aerostar come out to make the save. So, like, all these things coming to a head after that. I thought it was pretty well done.
Yeah, definitely. And I will also say I kind of hope we get an Atomikos match from this. You know, the 4-on-4 Worldwide Underground versus Phoenix, Drago, Aerostar, and Sexy Star.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love that. Wouldn't surprise me if that was either a match next week or, you know, at least 2 weeks from now, again, because of rotations. And yeah, it makes perfect sense. And I'm just curious, Worldwide Underground, because them chasing the Trios Championships, that's not going to be, I mean, we already had the first episode, so 39 episodes left. That's not going to be taken up 39 episodes. So after the Trios Championship is taken care of, like, what does everybody even do? And that's what I'm, because again, Johnny Mundo has that one track mind of Lucha Underground Championship, but who's to say the other three, maybe even four, depending on how this new guy pans out, four people aren't going to look at him and say, well, what makes you any more deserving than us? You know, especially Taya, I see being the most vocal about that. So I'm very curious what's going to come when they get their Trios Championship rematch out of the way.
We shall see. We shall see. Up next, though, we're back in Dario's office, and he's on the phone with someone. We don't know who. And then Marty the Moth Martinez shows up, and he's there to talk business. He's very serious right now. He says, you know, he wants to conquer this temple. Dario says that if you want to conquer something, you need to be ready for war. And Marty says, I am ready for war. And then Dario brings up Killshot. Marty says, oh, I'm over him. I'm done with Killshot. And then Dario says that, no, you're not, because Killshot isn't done with you. Next week, you'll be facing him in a weapons of mass destruction match where everything is legal. Marty starts giggling and acting like a maniac because he is a freaking maniac, and says that if Killshot wants his dog tags back, he better be ready for war.
Dude, I've said it so many times. Marty the Moth is easily one of my favorite heels in the game right now. I think he is so freaking good at what he does. And I think it works on so many levels because, I mean, yeah, Marty, it's obviously not just because of this. He's obviously been through some shit. He obviously has this idea like, oh, I'm this great member of the Moth tribe. But the Marty character, I think, in a way, is rooted in real psychology because I don't know why I didn't mention this before, but better late than never. I remember a long while back, maybe like last year, reading this study in psychology they released that said that rich people have less empathy than poor people. And we know a core part of Marty's backstory is all this wealth that he has. And yet,
oh yeah, that was another thing Cueto brought up. Marty brought up that he sent Dario presents in prison.
Yeah, that was very interesting to me. I wonder if, like, because to only go to the release, I mean, that's a lot missing there, because I had to think that Dario had to serve at least a little bit of time. I wonder what went on during his time in prison if we're going to get any of those gaps filled. But yeah, like, I love that the Marty character is rooted in kind of that potentially real life psychology based on that one study I told you about, because you can see he exhibits no empathy when he takes the dog tags. Those dog tags have great sentimental value and great personal value to Killshot. To Marty, they're just a decorative kind of item. They're a plaything. So it shows that huge disconnect that Marty just thinks, oh, I can take whatever I want. I can do whatever I want because of who I am, how far my bloodline goes, and just everything. He's the epitome of privilege, but in a psychotic way. And it just works so amazingly. So amazingly, because, you know, again, we'd like to think, oh, you know, we don't think it's psychotic when a person can pose on Forbes magazine with all this money, but you literally see a guy that's very disturbed and has all this wealth to back it up. Like, if that is not one of the most terrifying modern monsters of our time, I don't know what is. I think Marty, narratively, is definitely one of the best heels in wrestling. Just so good.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with you. And really, I want to know just how deep the Moth Tribe's pockets go.
Yeah, dude. That's some Rothschild shit right there. I could picture him, you know, like buying land and forcing other
More
tribes
like
off their land.
Rothschild, am I right?
But yeah, man. I mean, it's a legitimate question. And see, it's funny because I know you love Mariposa, and I love Mariposa too. I think, you know, she's fucking great. She kills it. But I'm really hoping, man, that Marty, like, I'm not even saying wins the title, though I'd mark the fuck out for that, by the way. But I really hope he takes a major step this season.
I think he and Mariposa are both on the dial.
Yeah, man. Like, I just want to see him take that major step this season, get in a huge program with somebody, I don't know who, and just raise his stock because... And I love this interaction. When you freak out Dario, because at the end, he's biting and gnawing at the dog tags and just laughing at himself. And Dario's expression just shifts to, like, he's smiling, which I love, too. Dario's love for violence was on full display this episode because, I mean, one with Matanza, Son of Havoc, really enjoyed that probably. Then he laughs with Worldwide Underground when he heard on Helico's leg got shattered, which I don't know why that imagery just works. And then he's smiling at Marty when he sees how excited Marty is about this weapons of mass destruction match next week.
It's so funny, too, because when I first saw or heard Dario say that, while we were doing live reactions, I thought he said huevos of mass destruction. I was just like, wow, balls of mass destruction, huh? What's that about? Well, no, it was weapons.
Honestly, in that case, you might have actually out Dario because maybe he would have heard that and been like, damn, that's so much better.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, he's just looking at Marty like, oh, cool, a kindred spirit. He loves violence like that. And then he's gnawing on the dog tag and he's like, what the fuck? It's just so good, man. I'm not going to stop preaching how great Marty the Moth is until he's world champion because he needs, that's why we both go to bat for him because somebody fucking needs to. Guy's brilliant.
Yeah. It's like, oh, it's an adorable little girl. Oh my God, why is her head spin? No, you're not supposed. No, don't. No, I'm sorry, but children's heads are not supposed to be able to turn 360 degrees around. That is not right.
Oh, okay. Oh my God, kill it with fire. And, that was pretty much Dario's expression to me. This segment was gold.
It was great. But then after this segment, main event of the evening, Rey Mysterio versus Pentagon Dark. Solid match. Not a super long match, only like 9 or 10 minutes, I would say. And Rey, at the end of the day, actually picks up the win with a 619 into I think we're calling it a Mexican Destroyer now, the flip pile driver.
Yeah, it sounds about right to me. And, good back and forth match. Solid. I enjoyed it. Don't really know what else to say. I mean, I know Pentagon Dark got up in Vampiro's business towards the end. He was saying something to him. Vampiro actually walking off. But Pentagon Dark, and see, maybe this is the story they're telling, because I know on live reactions, you and I both were lamenting, oh, wow, Pentagon Dark, such a transformation. He's 0-2. But both of these losses, Vampiro, even if it's only indirectly, he's tied to those losses, because the first one, like you said, against Matanza, tried handing Pentagon the barbed wire bat. Oh, yeah, let's do the violence. Let's do the whole thing. Got swept up in it. Got hit with Wrath of the Gods. And then this match, even though I don't place the blame on Vampiro because he was just doing commentary, he was the object of Pentagon Dark's ire. Pentagon Dark got drawn away from the violence he was incurring upon Mysterio to lambast Vampiro and lay into him. So clearly, to me, and this is just conjecture, and I know we've done it, a few times now, I feel like Pentagon Dark's only really going to get on a roll when that connection is severed somehow. I'm not saying Vampiro has to die or Pentagon Dark has to die. I mean,
severed or repaired fully.
Exactly, severed or repaired. And right now it's looking a little bit more like the former is going to happen. But that we've seen. But it's just interesting that Vampiro, even if indirectly, is responsible for those two losses, because Pentagon just isn't over it. Like, he beat the shit out of him at Ultima Lucha Dos, to close the in-ring portion of it. And then tonight, like, he sees him at commentary and he's giving him lip. And then back to Mysterio too late, because you don't take your eyes off a veteran like that. So I like that there's this tension between Vampiro and Pentagon Dark, and until Pentagon Dark, or both of them, get over that tension, like, nothing is going to happen with him. I think any Pentagon Dark fans, which I'm certainly an avid one, I know you are too, we can forget about him being Lucha Underground World Champion or doing anything of any real significance in that picture until this gets resolved, because this showed me, as long as Vampiro's there, that's going to be the Achilles heel the entire time.
Yeah, and that's a great observation, and you're probably right, yeah.
So Rey Mysterio gets the win. After that, though, we get a closing cinematic. I mean, but first, you didn't have anything else you want to say, did you, partner?
Well, I mean, let's not forget that after Rey picked up the win, Pentagon was all pissy, and he assaulted Rey and tried to break his arm, but El Dragon Azteca Jr. showed up with sort of an arm, not really a cast, but like arm wrap to kind of, help his arm heal, and made the save.
Yes. So we know that El Dragon Azteca Jr., like, he hasn't forgotten about what Pentagon Dark's done to him. And the unseen victim, Black Lotus, she's probably readying the army, which is why we didn't see her tonight. Because we know in the trailer, she's packing heat. And I'm not talking about just a weapon. No, she's bringing backup, man. Freaking Black Lotus Triad. So, yeah, I mean, Black Lotus remains in the shadows. El Dragon Azteca Jr. helping his mentor. And that was that. So I wonder if maybe in like 2 weeks, a few weeks, we'll get Pentagon versus El Dragon Azteca. And then where we go from there, it's kind of a mystery. But I can't wait for it. It should be an amazing match. Anything you want to add to that?
But then let's talk about this final cinematic. Prince Puma sat in his locker room thinking about his loss to Mysterio at Ultima Lucha Dos. And who should show up but the man that just walked off the commentary desk, Vampiro.
And again, in this exchange, first of all, there's that intrigue and that tension because, is Vampiro, like, Is Puma going to push buttons? Is he, like what's going to happen here? So there's tension, and that's why it works. It's different, and that makes it work on another level. And then the content of it, I love it because Vampiro's pretty much saying, like, I've been where you are. After a big loss like that, you're lost. You're without direction. Maybe you need guidance. And Puma adamantly is saying, look, I don't need anything, especially not from the likes of you. Vampiro kind of chuckles, and he says, well, look, man, all I know is you haven't been the same since you lost to Mil Muertes. He took your mentor from you in Conan, took your world title from you, and you really haven't bounced back. I mean, sure, you've been great, but you haven't been Prince Puma since that loss. And he said, well, maybe you need to make that right. Maybe you need to square things up with Mil Muertes before you can move on. And Puma just kind of chuckles and says, I'm surprised you're not asking me to beat up Pentagon. And Vampiro just kind of smiles and he says, hey, man, this isn't about me. This is about you. And he leaves Puma with his thoughts. And again, we say the theme of tonight, and again, I think I said this at the start of the show, but just to bring it full circle, the theme of tonight's show was long-form storytelling. Because between Ivelisse and Catrina, and now Puma Muertes, you're seeing it on full display here. And I love it.
Because Puma Muertes was actually my match of the year in 2015. So that's huge to me. And the fact that we're revisiting that, I'm so excited about it.
And what's so great, dude, is the only interaction those two had in season 2 was the triple threat match, Muertes versus Pentagon versus Puma. That's it. They haven't had a one-on-one match since the ending of the very first Ultima Lucha. So they went all of season 2 without a one-on-one rematch. And now you can already say they went part of season 3, even though it was just the first episode, they still haven't touched. It was brought up, but they still haven't had the match. So by the time they have the rematch, anticipation, like if they would have given, when we were all really sick of it, at 2009, that whole period, if they would have given John Cena, Randy Orton that kind of breathing room, I wouldn't have protested it nearly as much as I did. These guys know, look, these two put on great matches. You don't need to give it away needlessly. That's why I'll say, as far as Raw goes, look, I love Kevin Owens, and I respect immensely Sami Zayn's in-ring work. But to me, them having a match again on Raw when Sami won the definitive feud ender, or what should have been at Battleground, it cheapens everything in the long run. Because I'm like, well, now Kevin Owens got the win back, so what was that big emotional victory for at the pay-per-view? At the pay-per-view! I feel like they cheapen their own efforts, whereas Lucha Underground's like, no. We have Mil beat him at the first Ultima Lucha. We have Mil go on his run. We have Puma not necessarily find himself, but just kind of do his own thing, still kind of establish himself as the best in the temple. Comes up short again against Rey Mysterio, and now is the time when Puma has to ask himself, can I go home again? Can I find myself again? And the source is Mil Muertes. That's how you fucking do it, people. Because now, here's the thing, with the way they've layered this story, if Puma were to beat Muertes, I don't think that cheapens Muertes' victory at the first Ultima Lucha at all, which I can't say for Kevin Owens beating Sami Zayn this past Monday for Sami Zayn's end, because what does that do for his Battleground victory now? It does jack shit. But this, I feel like, has so much more resonance and just richness, narratively speaking, and they've had so much time apart to do their own thing. It feels like a completely different matchup now with completely different stakes. I mean, do you agree with everything? Do you have anything you want to add?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, me personally, I do kind of suffer from that give me now instant gratification syndrome. So I obviously would have liked to have seen Puma Mil again, even if it was later in season 2 rather than waiting this long for it. But I mean, I'm foaming at the mouth, ready to see it. So obviously, if they wanted people to want to see that match, they've succeeded. But then again, I would have wanted to see it earlier as well, just as much,
Exactly. And I think that's the thing, because you know how great those two guys are. I mean, Mil Muertes has grown on you, partner, to the point you've called him like a match of the year kind of machine, because he really puts his back into when he's working with people on that level, like Puma, like Cuerno, Matanza, just all those guys. That's why I still kind of want to see a one-on-one match between Johnny Mundo and Mil Muertes, because I know those two would bring the best out of each other, and it'd be freaking insane. He's just that good. And then Puma, Well, it's Prince fucking Puma. Like, his name does all the justice in the world. So knowing a rematch is coming and knowing that it's had all this time to breathe, and they've had all the and why I like that it's so much time to breathe, because I get totally what you're saying, right? That you would have wanted the match sooner. And I think in like 9 out of 10 other contexts, the match should have happened within the confines of the second season. But why I love that they gave it breathing room, they really got to show the effects, even if they didn't name it explicitly. They got to show the effects implicitly of Puma's loss to Muertes, because he rallies up again. He feels like he's got his swagger back, and then he loses again to Mysterio. So it's like that initial loss becomes compounded by a lot. Whereas Muertes, say what you will, he struggled against Matanza and everything. Guy's freaking 2-0 at Ultima Lucha. He dominated King Cuerno. So that's the whole story to me between Puma and Muertes, to put it one way.
You know who else is 2-0 at Ultima Lucha?
Who's that?
Phoenix, Drago. I think that might be it.
And there you go. But, like, to me, what that says about these two guys, it's like, oh, that's cool, Puma. You can be great 364 days of the year, and I won't be a slouch either. But on the day that really matters, the biggest show of the year, I'm going to show up, whereas you don't. You're a choke artist. And that's what that tells me. Like, if anything, I feel like the only stage more appropriate than just an episode of Lucha Underground, which every episode feels like a pay-per-view with the stakes they have and the stories they tell, would be Ultima Lucha Tres. But now I'm just curious what Puma will do for that. But yeah, this match is going to be freaking great. I love the story behind it. I love the implication of it. And I'm stoked, dude. This is a great ending to episode 1.
Absolutely. And also, I mean, we already know next week that we're getting Marty and Killshot. So if I wasn't excited enough about season 3, this is just ramping me up even more for more.
Exactly. With that said, are there any other remarks you want to make about this first episode of season 3?
No, I don't believe so. Let's move on.
All right, our next segment, high spots and low shots. I'm going to say my low shot is Son of Havoc, because you're still kind of down on your luck. You did get a world title match, but that wasn't because, of your own effort, of your own merit. That was a completely, random choosing, the Dial of Doom. And you gave the fight of your life, but you still lost. And that just shows that Son of Havoc, his struggle at the end of his personal night at Ultima Lucha Dos, it continues. So Son of Havoc is my low shot.
All right. I think my low shot is going to be Pentagon Dark.
Okay.
You're kind of this big badass, and you went into the cave of whatever the hell it was and beat all of these other alternate Pentagon personalities until only the most powerful evil dark one was left, and then you lost to Matanza, and now you lost to Rey Mysterio. So yeah, how's that transformation going for you there, bud?
Yeah, I mean, it is a legitimate question at this point. What are they going to do? What is Pentagon Dark going to do, to really rebound? We'll have to wait and see. With that said, my high spot, this is difficult. I feel like some people had really good nights tonight. My honorary high spot, just because I can, I'm going to make it Johnny Mundo, because he got to relive crushing on El Egg, and that was just amazing. But as far as my legitimate high spot goes, you know what? I'm going to go with the clear-cut one to me, Matanza, because let me tell you something. One-on-one, you could bring an entire battalion with you. I don't know who can stop Matanza. He had a dominant night tonight. Again, Son of Havoc really took him to the limit, but who got the 3 count at the end of the day? And that's just it. Matanza's still on a roll. He's still the world champion. And didn't he win that title very early on in season 2? Or was it like the middle?
At Aztec Warfare, so episode 9.
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. And, the reign's continuing. It's going to extend to the foreseeable future. And again, with the way they're building up Matanza, whoever finally does beat him is just going to be just over the moon with credibility. So, yeah, Matanza's my high spot.
All right. That's understandable. I think that my high spot is going to be just because of everything that happened, not only in this episode, but in the episodes leading up to this episode, Dario Cueto, because you took the little brother and he successfully defended his title, but who does that really benefit more, him or Big Brother Dario?
Exactly. He has the monster. He has the championship. He has the offense. He has everything. You know, like everything in his corner. Which
he really was kind of stroking his own power tonight, you could say, just because, like, literally as soon as and first of all, he gets bailed out of prison less than 6 weeks after getting put there, which is in and of itself a freaking miracle for everything he was being accused of. But then he, like, the first sort of big move that he does in the temple is make a main event match between two guys that he considers to be threats for Matanza, and then the ultimate power move, because nobody actually stands a chance against my brother, I'm going to give somebody random an opportunity to face him for his title right now. And it's a freaking wheel. Like, antagonize ever, and he pulls it off, and it didn't even cost him because Matanza still won.
And you know what? Like, I'm so glad you said everything you did, and that's an excellent justification for why he's your high spot. And I'm glad you used the phrase, like, he was really kind of flaunting his power a little bit, really reveling in it. Because that all comes off the heels of a guy more powerful than him saying, you fuck up again, it's going to be a death sentence. So I wonder what that says psychologically about the Dario Cueto. Like, I was delegated to by this guy. That makes me feel small. So now I've got to make all these people feel small and carry, my big stick and my iron fist. I think that's very interesting that he's really on that.
And he even carried that into the night, because the Dial of Doom wasn't the only power play. We also saw him straight up shut down Worldwide Underground for a trios titles rematch, when they, by all means, they deserve one. And he's not like Catrina. He's not in my temple there are no rematch clauses or anything like that. Like, he does usually kind of stand by the rematch clause, and not tonight. And then against Marty too. Marty was saying, I'm past kill shot or whatever. He wants to conquer the temple. And Dario was just like, no. You do what I say, and I say you're going against kill shot. So really, Dario's whole night was just him enforcing his will upon the temple.
Yeah, because he knew what it was like to have somebody else's will enforced upon him. And it must have been a sour taste. So he wanted everybody else to know it tenfold. And I think that's just a brilliant brushstroke of the Dario Cueto character that I'm glad you said everything you did, because then we were able to really discuss it. So I would agree with you about the high spot, but to me, knowing that somebody's delegating to him with that kind of force and that kind of power, he's a high spot for sure. But he's really walking that tightrope. He's a high spot that could turn into a low shot real quick. So we'll see how long
we don't do high spots and low shots necessarily based on the future. We do them based on the current night. And tonight,
that is true. Yeah.
Was just enforcing that will.
Absolutely. So, my friend, with that said, are there any concluding remarks that you have about tonight's episode?
Sure. I'm glad Lucha's back. Couldn't have come sooner.
You and me both, brother. With that said, this has been Lucha Underground. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment, subscribe, and like this video. Be sure to give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Puts us as the top search result. You know we're the best Lucha Underground reviewers around. So, yeah, be sure to give a like on that. Partner, what question you have for our subscribers this week for the season premiere?
My question is, how soon do you guys think we're going to see Mil and Puma interacting again?
Good question. I like that. I like that a lot. So, guys, be sure to talk about Puma and Mil Muertes. How soon is that interaction going to happen? With that said, you guys already know everything to check out because of the brilliant backgrounds my commentary makes here. What you may not know, though, is to submit questions for Q&A. We've had 2 Q&As already. Second one was exponentially more successful than the first. We got over double the questions for the second Q&A. We do Q&As the last Friday of every month. So submit your questions, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, whatever medium your heart desires, get those questions in. Everybody's permitted up to 5 questions. Could be to Ashton, could be to myself, could be to both of us, and it could be on any topic, you know, wrestling, music, video games, whatever you want to inquire about, feel free to inquire about it. And so that's Q&A, and we will see you again for our NXT review. And until then, tune in and peace out.